Commission, Newport, New Hampshire. It's March 27th, 2023. The first order of business is the call to order. B would be roll call for the members.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Mike Loftus.
Jim Burrows.
Biddy Irwin.
Jackie Cody.
And then C on the agenda is administration. We could move this to later in the meeting, or we could talk about administration now. It was just you discussing when you'd like I set up historically what it's been, which was the 6 p.m. every other month, starting with January, which we missed, and then it's typically the fourth Monday, but that could be shifted to some extent based on if this room is available, like another night or another time, but that would be up to you. I've got that on the agenda if you would like to discuss that.
Before we get to that, I think we ought to do under administration, organization of the board. Then once we get the organization squared away, then the chairman can start this board afoot from a good spot. So,
Sure,
under
okay.
administration, we ought to do organization first.
Like the election of chairman
Yep.
and vice chair.
Yep.
Okay,
And
sounds good.
secretary.
Go ahead.
Unless you're going to serve as secretary.
More.
Are we going to have a paid secretary at every meeting?
She's always come before.
Okay, great.
That's excellent.
Fabulous.
So, under organization, I would make a motion to appoint Biddy Virginia Irwin as chairman.
I second.
You need to call for the
Call for a
vote.
vote.
Oh, you still, I'm sorry, I apologize, I
So,
was reading.
most of
I
it for
thought you were gonna
Virginia
take
is
over.
Chairman, a second.
So do we have a second, so
Yeah.
roll call for the vote?
I second it.
You second, so yes,
Yes.
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 yes, unanimous
Okay.
vote.
Okay.
And the second was from Mike,
Right.
for Virginia. Now, the next one would just be vice chair.
It's on her now. Meeting's yours.
Oh, right, you're elected, yes.
Would any one of you like to be the vice chair?
I don't know enough yet, so I
Sure.
don't think it would be appropriate for me.
All right, so I nominate Jim Burrows for vice chair.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Thank you very much. Thank you, Christina, for shepherding us
Absolutely.
through the beginning.
Sure.
So, I have a little bit more on my agenda than yours, but that's perfectly fine. We'll do new business public hearing. I'm not sure what a public hearing is about.
It's just this is a public, just this is a public, yeah, just this is a public hearing. We're having it.
This meeting is.
Yeah, I posted
This
it.
is a public meeting,
Well,
but we're not hearing anything public. This is a public meeting. A
okay,
hearing is-
I can alter that to public meeting or just even new business.
New business.
New business,
Yes.
because our meetings are all open.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I had to talk about is mostly administrative. In your folder are the rules of procedure, which Christina nicely also
Right, I
added.
doubled,
It's
yeah.
great.
You did my work for me.
That's all right. I didn't know what your role was, so I thought I would just at least provide these things for you. So the rules of procedure have been adopted and amended, and as of June 2016. And I think they're fine. You can read them. We can always decide if there's something that's missing, but I think it's okay. It said that the revision on June of 16 was meeting time. So I'm
This is the one
not,
you're looking at here, this one?
yeah,
It says received time clerk?
yeah, that's what I'm looking at. So I don't know where the meeting time section is.
I think on page 2, that where it talks about regular meetings, it
Yep.
mentions the second Monday.
Page 2, Article A,
All right, but it
Article
says 6 o'clock, so is that an issue for anybody other than you?
2, just me. And if you guys don't mind me showing up at like 6:15, have at it.
Okay. Then we can just
Keep it at
do
6.
non-administrative stuff. So we'll keep it at 6 then. Okay. And then the regular meetings are, it says, the second Monday. What does that conflict with? Does that conflict with planning board?
It conflicts with Board of Selectmen.
No, they're first and third.
Third.
First
It-
and third Mondays.
It does not conflict, and I apologize, I have it as the 4th, so we can either change it or move it.
I believe it conflicts with the Historical Society board meeting.
The second Monday?
Oh,
Second, yeah.
Okay.
apologize, not here in this building, at
No,
the, yes.
we meet in our own building.
And when's your airport?
Airport is the third Tuesday.
Okay, so
Fourth Monday works for me.
fourth Monday?
Yeah.
Fourth Monday? Not for you.
Doesn't matter. Fine with me.
So 3 Mondays in a row?
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, so we can,
I like Mondays, just I know I gotta be here every
That's
Monday.
true.
That's
Okay.
fine.
so we will have to adjust the rules of procedure. We will say that tentatively it is the fourth Monday, and then at our next meeting, we can ratify this change. But between now and then, we can see if there is anything else in here that looks askew.
Yep,
Do you know what I mean?
yep.
Jefferson, can I make a comment?
Yes.
Would you like me to edit this, and then typically when I edit rules of procedure, I then make a section for signatures on the back for you to sign and date when you do ratify it?
Yes, you
Uh,
will have to.
Okay, and then one more thing too, if I could bring to your attention, the section E on page 2, number 4 is public hearings,
Right.
not new business. I think I probably added the new business and did / public hearings, so would you like me to change?
No, on occasion, we would hold a public hearing where we would have an actual public hearing on something that was being proposed or,
Okay.
so it's perfectly fine. It's PRN public hearings.
Okay,
So it's not every time, but we might hold a public hearing.
Okay, so I could have all that on the agenda, and then if there's none, I just would have none next to it.
Exactly.
Okay, sounds good. I will change the agenda setup then. Thank you.
So if you can review the contents and see if there's other things that are that need adjusting. But now, having said that, well, I'll wait, that's fine. So the other thing is talking about the 3 efforts, Heritage Commission, Historic District, and Monuments and Memorials. We can talk about that after we talk about the issues that we're here to talk about, one of which is the windows. So, somebody want to talk about these windows?
Your windows?
So, Madam Chairman, thanks for working this program into your agenda. Don't hold me to this timeline, but it's relatively accurate. Some 2 years ago, the town of Newport applied for a congressionally directed expenditure or appropriation in the amount of $250,000 based on actual bids received at that moment in time to replace all of our windows in this building, which there are 97, I believe, and to install heat pump air conditioning in the occupied spaces of this floor and the floor above us, not in the first floor basement, whatever you want to call it, space. The combined value of those 2 projects was almost exactly $250,000. Some months after that, we were awarded that grant, and it has been for the last year plus, making its way from the Capitol building to the Department of Energy. And at approximately this time last year, we did, by the way, we did not know because congressionally directed expenditures have historically not been turned over to anybody. They're approved by Congress. Basically, the check gets sent to the state turns it over to us. That's the end of the story. That was 20 years ago. Now, unbeknownst to everybody, the appropriation is made, it's sent to the agency that most closely relates to the activity. So in this case, this is an energy improvement, or seen as an energy improvement. So the project got sent to the Department of Energy, DOE. They turned it over to a team of 5, I think at one point it was 6 people, which is, just as an editorial comment, that would be more people than it's going to take to install the windows. And they have been trying to figure out how to run this program for about the last year. And because they don't do this, they don't have any structures, any procedures in place, and so they've had to back into it, try to figure out how to implement it and all the federal requirements that come with it. We received a notice to proceed about a month ago, give or take, saying it's okay for you to go ahead and start purchasing materials, because I've been beating on them pretty hard to let us do that, to get ahead of the shortage of materials. Our goal is to get this project done this summer, and so they said, fine, go ahead. But be aware that there are other agencies, such as the State Historic Preservation Office, who have to make comment on this, and you proceed at your own risk. Now, State SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office, their rules and their guidelines suggest that their input cannot stop a project, but they can impose conditions. And one of the things they typically do is they look to the local historic preservation people to comment on the project. And so I have come to you all in anticipation of that request. This request has already been submitted to the State Historic Preservation Office for comment. I'm anticipating that in the next week or two, they have to respond, by the way, within 30 days. So any minute now, they're going to be sending us a letter saying, what does the local historic preservation folks think about this? So we're trying to get ahead of that and have you all opine on it and perhaps issue a letter so then we can send it up there. And so when that gets into their file, they'll check the box and say, okay, we've heard from local historic people and we're not going to slow this down anymore. Because we're ready to order these windows, and the windows have a 6-week lead time to them, and we're trying to get this done in May or June so that there's a 2-month installation period. So we need to get going on this, because I'm going to lose I've lost 2 out of the 3 contractors that we were considering because they've gone on to other projects. So there's a little sense of urgency to keep this project alive. So I would appreciate it if the commission would review what we have. I think I've provided you with a description of all the windows by location. They're Matthew Brother windows. They're American manufactured in Maine, and they are going to be ordered so that the grills replicate the existing pattern. So from afar, if you look at it, you wouldn't know the difference. The external outside will be vinyl clad. The grills will be embedded in between the 2 panes of glass so that they're easy to clean on the inside and outside. They will be tilt-ins in either event, but they'll be way easier to clean than if they were segregated like they are now. So the exteriors will be white, and the contractor will reconstruct. Each window is a little different, and so they'll be reconstructed. They'll be custom installed. Each window is measured. That's window number 27, that was number 28, that was number 29, so to speak. So the order, window number 29 will go in that space, number 27 will go in that space. And the insides are primed so that we can paint the insides any way we want to match whatever color pattern we choose, scheme we choose. We can figure that out a little bit later. But
So these windows here would be replaced?
yes, there's 97 of them. in total, and all the windows will be replaced in the building.
So I'm just curious, if I can ask a
Yes,
question.
go
So you're getting the grant
Yep.
from them to pay for this, but these windows needed to be replaced in order to make them more efficient
Yes.
with the heating and cooling system.
Yeah, there's several objectives. One is if you go around and actually physically handle these windows, they've kind of dried out in their tracks, they rattle all the time. And pick a window, you can do it now if you wanted to, just walk up to any windowsill and run your finger across the bottom, the grit and the grime, that the air infiltration is enormous. The sound infiltration is pretty remarkable too. I've actually had to move from my office during phone calls during the winter when the winds were howling.
How old are these windows?
Oh, they're
Original to the building.
Yeah, they're
Are they
original, so
original?
1895 or something.
Yeah. I thought my house is 1900.
They were here when I
The
was
same
here.
thing.
So we've also had a couple of injuries where people have gotten their hands caught in the windows coming down because the
Yes,
balances don't work anymore. So there's all kinds of reasons: the air infiltration, the sound
Yeah.
infiltration, the risk to using.
There are magazines that.
So you just need approval from us that the style of the window is not objectionable.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, what we'd love to have is a letter saying something to the effect that the commission has met. We reviewed the proposal, we have no objections to the windows that have been selected and the manner of installation, and blah, blah, blah. And if you want to write that, or if Christina wants to write that, we would send that up to State Historic Preservation, and when they get to that item on their checklist, they'll say, where's this? Oh, yeah, we've got it already, we don't have to go wait for it. And it will just speed up the process.
Perfect.
So does the letter go to Historic Preservation, or does the letter go to DOE?
That's a good question. DOE has basically already submitted what's called a RPR, Request for Project Review. And so this is part of SHPO's project review. So you could do it either way, but I would suggest we send it to SHPO with a copy to DOE.
Any other questions from the members of the board? I have just one about the price.
Yes?
This bid or quote was in December of '22, and the cost was around $69,000. Is that still
Yes.
applicable?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you,
Doesn't count the heaters, though, that's just
that's
the
correct.
windows.
So I will tell you, thanks for reminding me about that. The project, when it was originally submitted, was $250. Now it's $303 or something like that. And the town, also a surprise to us, is that the town is now required to come up with a 20% match. So the 20% match is just about the $50,000. So we started at $250, we're now at $300. Our 20% match gets us from $250 to $300, and we have our 20% match in the budget.
That hasn't passed.
We encumbered it from last year.
Oh, you did, okay.
I do have the colored catalogs in front of you if you want to see it. They also are registered, yeah, historic windows.
Right, this is their business.
Yeah, like they've
Yeah,
gotten
well,
some
they-
kind of accreditation.
They have a whole line that's dedicated to historic, looking
It's
windows.
nice.
And when we replaced the windows at the Historic Society,
We did.
yeah, that's what I said, when we did, but we used local windows,
We got them through the valleys.
yeah. So they're not necessarily historic windows, but they look just like the windows we had,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yep, they married them.
And
They
these,
mirrored them.
these are, we shopped the whole line of windows at La Valley's. They have about 8, 10 different vendors. And from a cost benefit value perspective, this was the highest recommendation we could get.
Well-
If you went to Marvin, it'd be double, triple the price, and so on and so forth.
And our windows, correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, were pretty much the same size. We didn't have to do too many individual, did we?
Correct.
Yeah, and in your case, you've got,
About 4 or 5
Random.
different, yeah, there's 4 or 5 different versions of the same
Right.
thing.
any other comments from the members of the commission? Is there any action you'd like to take?
Madam Chairman, can I make one further note?
I don't think so. No.
So there's a couple windows that we've actually in this process discovered that appear on the outside of the building, but have disappeared on the inside of the building. Over the years, they've been sheetrocked over, and we're going to restore those windows, so.
Kind of sounds like the Opera House.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So it will actually, I think, in that regard, be a step back or towards the original or make it
Restoration of the building.
Yeah.
more authentic. I think there's a total of 2 windows that, if you're on the outside, yeah, there's a window. If you're on the inside, where's the window? It's gone.
So we don't have to concern ourselves with the heat replacement, do we? Because that's an internal
Correct.
adjustment to the
Those-
system.
Those will all be in the ceilings, and
Yeah.
there'll be no alteration. And the windows, this applies to the windows too, there'll be no alteration of the structural openings. The windows will be made to fit the openings, not the openings to fit the windows.
With the windows.
Right, so there'll be no alterations there. So I actually think, if you go outside now and look at the number of windows that have air conditioners hanging in them right this second, and in the summertime it's worse, I think the building will actually look better with no air conditioners in it,
Yeah.
and with better light and,
Jim?
the whole nine yards.
So I can make a motion that we as a commission support the project as presented and direct Christina to write a letter of support to be forwarded to the necessary state and federal agencies that will be overseeing this grant.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining. I'd like to see the letter before you send it.
Absolutely, I can forward it and state the exact motion and date and time that was decided.
Great.
And I also don't have to sign, I could still type it up and have someone else sign
If
it.
Biddy's
No,
gonna
I'll
review
sign it as the
then
chairman.
Okay, then I'll put the
Just
chairman on the bottom. Perfect, I'll then, should I send it to everyone, or are you comfortable
No,
in
no,
that?
you can forward it to everyone so they
Okay.
can see it. Sure, sure. All righty.
Excellent. Good to get that project underway.
Thank
I
you.
put
Want
the
to see that.
parking scheme on here as well. And so did you. So now, parking scheme,
Is,
that's this.
is that from you, or where is this the most latest iteration? Because my understanding from my other board is that this is a very much a dynamic process that is still undergoing a great amount of
Scrutiny.
corrective measures.
I don't even know, from what I heard, it maybe even got halted the other night. I halted about moving forward. I actually didn't have any material on this, so I did just print it off offline. But I do find these maps kind of hard to understand, I will say, and Hunter just stated they're not even up. They were what is on the website. So I don't think they're up to date. And is it accurate that there was a vote to slow, what was, Are we still moving?
There wasn't exactly a vote. There was a request that the latest information be forwarded back to the board because the state was going to sharpen their pencil and talk about something different, and that a committee be established to review a different proposal. That was sort of the gist of that meeting. It was a recommendation, but I don't know that the committee got any traction.
Correct. I don't know if it's appropriate for us to opine on this until we have such a
I
a
agree.
finalized,
absolutely. It, maybe moving forward though, I think the board is supposed to have input, and I know that Jackie went for representative to the board, but I just want to make sure we had it, since it's still a work in progress. Are they're supposed to have input on this?
Yes.
The Heritage Committee? Okay, then yes, so just, we should, maybe, right, as it's moving forward, keeping your input on it.
Hunter?
Yes, Madam Chairman. So the plans that you have in front of you have been substantially and irreparably replaced and altered. And they change at least twice a day because we have found a number of discrepancies, if you will, in the state's plan. So every time we do, they go, oh yeah, we should change that. And so I got 2 iterations today alone, and right now we are, the number of, I'm going to go a little bit on a limb here and say the net change in parking can be counted on one hand, and in a couple of instances will be actually an increase in parking. So the concerns that people have been all wired up about are, in my opinion, are pretty much gone now. And it's going to be a net win-win, I think, for almost everybody.
So to that end, I abhor documents that have no dates.
Yeah.
There's not a single date on this
Really?
document, not a single one.
Okay.
So if you send us something, if the state hasn't had the good sense to put a date on it, would you?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
so we know, this is volume
Yep.
28, this is one March 1st, this is, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, no, that makes all the sense in the world, because there's no point in having people looking at different versions.
Exactly. So we will table that until we hear something else, which will feed into my next topic, which is the mural project. As you know, there was a mural redone. I'm looking for my purse, which I can't seem to find. A mural redone that the town had done many years ago, and it was redone, and it looks fabulous in the alleyway of the bakery. So to that end,
Is that this you're talking about?
that's the one.
I
There
got copies, so.
Oh, great. So there is a proposal on the board from the Library Arts Center to do a mural in town on the building where
You
One
can
Wild,
have mine, 'cause I,
you sure?
yeah.
Where One Wild Saloon is. Mark Hunter?
Yeah, I'll come out and get my foot to sleep
Okay.
at the moment, I'm sorry.
Where One Wild Saloon is.
One wow.
One Wild Saloon?
Oh,
The
salon.
hairdresser salon?
Corner of Pedal Patch.
Yeah,
yeah,
got it.
Centerpiece Street.
Yeah. And to that end, although it says that we meet every other month, I'm going to ask us to meet in April to review this and to approve it, because they'd like to get going in May. And by then, we may have more parking schemes. So unless there's any concern about doing that, I'm just trying to look and see what the message to me was today about this. Here we are. All right. They're going to be submitting the request to us as well. But she wanted us to have the framework before our meeting tonight to make sure they can still work, so they can do the project sometime in May if everything's approved, which would mean we need to approve it in April. You have a copy of what they did in Bethlehem, and it would look like the old-timey postcard that would say Newport. You want to?
Another one, yeah, I did.
And actually, Maura, I can send you an
She's
email
got-
with the, okay.
Yeah.
There are a number of old postcards from Newport. Do they have one in mind, or?
They're going to design one like this.
Also, it's not,
So-
they're not recreating an old,
No,
No.
they're making it to look like an old-timey postcard, but they're
Yeah.
creating it themselves.
kind of interesting if they did use one of those old postcards, because there are some really nice ones.
Well, and the king of postcards is related to this woman here, so maybe there are some that we could drag out and show them. I mean,
Personally, I'd like them to come up with their own, because I like the concept. That's just me.
yeah.
Would this be on the building as you're entering town?
Yeah, you know where Pedal Patch is?
Yes.
The
It's
florist,
on the
The
corner.
florist,
On
so
the-
it would be on the
That
side
building,
of
on the
the
side. So coming down Sunapee Street, as you're coming into town, it will be on the left.
On the left.
Yeah,
So, yeah, so you'd see that as you're coming around the traffic circle as well.
correct.
You'd see it coming in and going out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
And they hope to start in May and finish it in June. Do it May to June, approximate completion date. I guess that's all in that note that I'm reading to you, which you can read for
May
yourself.
to July.
There's also an opportunity to look at other spaces in town where we can do murals, but where the Library Arts Center can do murals, but they would not be permanent installations.
Yeah.
Hunter?
On that note, Madam Chairman, I've been remiss in not sharing this I'm gonna get a little ahead of my skis here, because I haven't shared this with the entire select board. I have mentioned it to the chairman, that we would like to introduce for conversation, anyway, the prospect of creating 2 mural panels on the back side of the Opera House. There are 2 natural, very tall arches, if you look at the brickwork,
Oh, yes.
that would really be beautiful to reflect something to do with the arts, something to do with the Opera House, whatever the case may be. We would propose that you could do that by not altering the brick, but by mounting what basically would turn out to be.
Gesso board or something.
Yeah, something that would have an airspace behind it, so the building would not be altered in any significant way. And it could be mounted on, a couple inches between. We figure out the mechanics of it all. But it would be a great way to celebrate the arts for a building that is there for the arts.
Yeah,
And it would
Fabulous.
be big. It would add some color. This back parking lot could use a little color and some little diversity and whatnot. You could uplight them or downlight them during the night. And it would be a nice addition to the new entrance that we're about to start building, by the way, starting on Monday.
New entrance to,
the Opera House.
oh,
Remember,
yeah.
the
Yeah, yeah,
ramp
yeah.
is terrible and
Yeah,
the set
yeah.
of stairs is terrible. So
Worse than
those are
terrible.
gonna be
Yeah,
replaced.
they'll be gone by the end of next week.
Which we also should opine about because you're changing the outside of a historic building.
Mm.
So if you think of it, we'll have a lot to do in April. We could at least review those plans. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to object. It's a life safety issue.
Right.
And since we do not seem to have the ability to use an elevator, the back ramp is critical.
Yeah.
So if you could just send us a schematic, that would be
Yeah, we
great.
do have those electronically, and if I can ask
Right.
Christina's,
Yep.
if she can make some notes, we'll get those out to you tomorrow.
Great,
Absolutely, I'll put it on I'll ask you for them, for Joanne. Okay.
yeah, good. Questions about the mural project?
No, I guess the fact that this is being attached to the outside of a historical building, it needs our blessing.
Yeah, it's sort of, I put in your folder all the RSAs that pertain to historic commissions. We have a broad swath of area about which we opine. There's the professional district downtown, there's a historic district, but in terms of the historic commission, anything that has some integrity to what was old and needs to be preserved or saved in some kind of way, we get to opine about it. So it would be, that building is part of the Newport's Historic District because it fronts Main Street.
But this is being attached, and it's not changing the building. It's just
Correct.
a facade that's
It's
on.
just like the fitness center, that's just attached.
Yeah.
And I haven't read the entire proposal, I'm not sure if this is a temporary mount or if it's permanent. I think it has an end date, but
I
I'm
think it's
not
10
sure.
years.
10 years, okay, there
And
you
the
go.
lifespan of that mural will be approximately 5 to 10 years,
Yeah. And the reason
with
for
the
that.
intention that it's a temporary public art piece
Right,
Yeah.
that may be changed or repainted or restored or removed at the time.
and that's significant, Mike, because the 2 murals that were done during the Artist Congress in '85,
Somewhere in that.
the one at Coronis's Market
Yeah.
and the one here by the bakery, they were done at that time and they deteriorated, and it was like, well, whose responsibility is it? Nobody owned them. And so it's sort of like everybody standing in a row and everybody stepped back and the art center was left standing forward, so they assumed the responsibility to get them restored. The one at Coronis's got restored,
Yeah.
repainted. The one at the other building got totally redone with a different motif. Now, that belongs to the owner of the building. And I don't know about Coronis's, it may belong to the owner of Coronis's, but don't hold me to that. But anyway,
This-
so that's one of the reasons why this has a lifespan,
Yeah.
so that it doesn't become an eyesore. It doesn't become a, whose responsibility is it? It's very clear, temporary art installation for X years gets redone or gone or whatever.
Which the Library Arts Centre is responsible
Correct,
for, temporary owner for now.
the temporary owner, right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, thanks.
all right.
Yep.
So they can come in April and present their project in a little more detail.
Mrs.
Christina,
Mrs. Chairman, person, April 24th at 6 PM would be the fourth Monday. Could I schedule it as that date for the April meeting? Does that work?
works for
I'll send out
me.
an email tomorrow.
Yeah.
April 24th is a Monday, yes.
And who do I notify at the library of them presenting that evening?
Fran Hewitt, Library Arts Center, not library.
Oh, the library art, okay, at the library
Kate
art center.
Luppold is the executive director.
Kate Leopold.
Luppold, Luppold, and it's info@libraryarts.org. That date works for you?
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll work you on. All right, so that's that. I put the Brampton Ruger Mill on my schematic as well, on my agenda rather, because it is a historic building. And I don't know what the outside facade is going to be. I don't know if the project's even to any kind of a place where we would have an opportunity to take a look at the outside structure or proposed changes, but again, because of the nature of its history, it needs to be, at least have a recommendation from us. Yes?
Yeah, so, Christina can fill in the blanks here, but my understanding is that they do not intend to alter the exterior of the building in any way. I think there might be a couple of those outbuildings that might come down by that would be on the southwestern edge of the property, some of the sheds, and I think associated with there's a maintenance building or some, maybe the little barn, not the barn, what do you call it?
The office.
The silo.
The silo. The
Yeah,
silo's staying up, I think.
Yeah,
They
I think,
changed
I was
it.
about to say, at one point they were planning on taking that down, but about a couple of weeks ago, I heard the would-be owner say that maybe they've changed their minds.
They don't want to remove it if they don't have to.
Yeah.
There's a parking issue there. They're going in front of the zoning board to request a reduction parking. If they do get even a nominal, I think the silo could be saved.
Yeah. So they don't intend to change the outside of the building.
Okay, so as long as they run it by us, that sounds great. Just as an odd piece of trivia, when I was researching the Brampton Mill, which is what it was, I found that John McCrillis gave all the records from the Brampton Mill to the New Hampshire Historic Society. So if you wanted to see all of the financial records from the Brampton Mill, it's at the New Hampshire Historic Society.
Why?
Why? Why did he do it? I don't know. But there's a great long list of everything they have from that mill, which I thought was very interesting. So then I Googled Ruger Mill, and they have nothing on the Ruger Mill, under the title Ruger Mill. But it was a manufacturing facility before Mr. Ruger bought it, and
Sylvania
So,
had it
for a
for a
while.
while. And
Yeah.
before that, it was a shoe company. It was,
Dexter.
Ultima Delta.
Dexter or something or other.
Ultima Delta was a shoe company, and Brampton then was Woolens, way back in the day.
So just as an aside, the upcoming April issue of the Historical Society newsletter, I have written it's a two-piece article. Seth Richards, the son of Dexter Richards, they're the ones that started the mill. And in
Oh, yeah,
it tells,
way back.
the number of feet of cloth and whatever that they did. So that'll be coming out.
Okie dokie.
And he also built the library. That was the,
Yeah. And gave the money for the school.
Yep.
So, before we sort of switch into the monuments and memorials piece, I do want to know if Kenneth Vigue actually does exist.
Who?
Kenneth Vigue.
Kenneth does live in the old mayor's house on Spring Street, and I do believe he's a member through 2023.
As a member or as an alternate?
I apologize, as an alternate. So, but I have not spoken to him for a couple of years. He came in, there's a new building going in on Spring Street, right across from his home, and so that's last I saw him, and that was the height of COVID and everything, he came in. But I could make, and on our records, we have through 2023. So unless he went in front of the board, although then Joanne would have also, but let me try to make contact with him, because I know we had his wrong email.
Okay.
And to see if he's willing to be an alternate, at least through the rest of the year.
Or safe.
Or stay, yeah.
Or stay, I mean, he's welcome to become a member.
Are we a
Right.
5-person board,
No,
Biddy?
we're up to, I believe it's 7.
Okay,
I think it's a 7-person board, so we have room for,
Yeah.
if he stays, 2 more people. And Herb is your alternate?
Correct.
Okay. And we don't have an alternate really, except for Kenneth if he isn't, so we have room for an alternate, we have room for 2 actual members, if there's anybody else. I was thinking it would be nice, are you on the planning board, Jim?
Yes.
Okay, so we have the planning board covered, and you cover for the historic district. Kate Leopold is a member of the historic district group, which has been melded into this, so we ought to find out if she's interested in continuing as the director of the Arts Center in this regard, when I can reach out to her. All right, so one of the things that Jim and I bandied about was, it's so difficult to get people to engage, that we ought to combine the efforts around the historic issues in this community. And the 3 biggies are the commission, the district, including the professional district, and the Monuments and Memorials Committee. To that end, it makes sense that this body do all of that, only because the Monuments and Memorials Committee only meets when somebody calls up and says, I want to put up a plaque to my grandmother who, you know, lived here 100 years ago, and it becomes a concern when it then becomes a liability of the town. So somebody gives us
Financial
parkland.
liability,
Exactly.
as well as
Somebody gives us
Fiscal.
parkland, and they plant it, it looks lovely, they put a little money by for a couple of years of taking care of it, and then whoop, I'm done, and then it becomes one more thing for the town to mow, and one more thing for the town to maintain. And one more thing for people to complain about when their park isn't mowed first.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we do that as a town, so that we don't look like lots of places that don't care.
from my perspective on it, it's a singular group of people focusing on the same things,
Yeah.
covering the same areas. Why duplicate and create
Absolutely.
more work when we don't have to?
Not only that, but you're trying to find more people to serve on it.
Right, so, as a commission, we can go to our maximum number, and we can, as I said, the last time the Monuments and Memorials Committee met was a year and a half ago, when we reviewed the Andy Andrews,
By the covered bridge.
by the covered bridge, Andrews,
Ray Reed.
Ray Reed,
So my question becomes,
Yeah.
what needs to happen on a town perspective to merge these 3 groups into one? Is that something the Board of Selectmen needs to do? Is that a town vote, or
No.
is,
I think the
What's
board
the
needs to do
process?
it. I think the board needs to take the Monuments and Memorials Committee, which it created by ordinance, which I'll get to in a minute, and merge them. I don't think the legislative body has to do that. Because the legislative body only approved the ordinance and the establishment of a committee, but not necessarily its structure.
So that monuments committee, what about the historic district?
Somewhere along the line, it was combined before I recall. And I don't know if it was, I can't find the minutes that support that. Joanne may have them, I don't know.
So Fran or Kate are part of this board then? Or should be?
Kate would be, yes, and for monuments and memorials, the Public Works, or somebody from Public Works needs to be very much involved because of placement and concerns about mowing and maintenance and signage.
So another
and-
member beyond BOS rep?
Right, and it could be, yes, beyond, yes, somebody who's in, all due respect to you, but somebody who's in the trenches mowing and worrying about that. And so, there's nothing to prevent them from being part of this larger committee that addresses these issues. They would not maybe be, I mean, I can look at the rules, but they may not vote on commission things, but they would vote on monuments and memorial things. And as I said, it's very rare. You haven't had any requests recently for memorial that I'm aware of. And it, it happens when unfortunately somebody dies or,
Yeah. Maybe on our agenda for the next meeting would be to review what we currently have
Yep,
and see if there's anything we could be
yep,
sending.
Is that
down.
the April agenda then?
the April agenda,
Okay,
yep.
and you want review of the three, the district, the commission, and the monuments and
Yeah,
memorials.
I have in this packet is the information on the Monuments and Memorials Committee, including the ordinance, which is not on the town website.
Yeah, I know, you're right. But maybe not, I know that's kind of new to me.
Is this something that you could put together to get on the board of selectmen's next agenda
Yes,
for discussion?
yes, yes, Hunter.
So just as a heads up, depending on how you define monuments and memorials, because you and I had this discussion relative to benches and whatnot,
Right,
just giving you a heads up, there'll be a flurry of bench sponsoring opportunities coming forward relating to the community center, and a couple little opportunities relative to the town's summer project for dog park and the community garden. Probably only be one or two down there, but there'll be, I would think, probably 3 or 4 or 5 at the community center,
great.
which are really intended as much to be fundraisers for us, to offset the cost of that sort of stuff, but there'll be people obviously who
Yes,
will want.
they do become monuments.
They've
And
become
so
a public
There's one at the
structure.
high school that's a monument.
Yeah.
Right,
And
So-
there'll be inside the building, there's gonna be, which I'm somewhat terrified of, the prospect, there'll be a thank you board to donors and things of that nature. The only reason it scares me is because you inevitably spell somebody's name wrong or leave
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
off the list, but, so I don't know if that qualifies, but I'm just giving you a heads up, that is already, we're already starting.
It's gonna be about that size.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and there's a lot of memorial walls in town for donors for lots of things,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, so I'll just give you a heads up. on that.
Now, are the
So-
bench is going to be the same style as what is, okay.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, I think it's important that this gets moving. We got this board together for the first time in umpteen years. I do not want to see it slip and go by the wayside again, so.
Not to worry.
If
COVID was the,
if it's gonna get back in front of a board for, committee reassignments or however that needs to be worded, and for, obviously some amendments being made to ordinances that are existing, that, although not published, but are existing, then that should be in front of the board, I would hope, at our earliest convenience.
The Heritage Commission ordinance is on the website under Heritage Commission. It's not what the town ordinance is, but it's there. But the monuments and memorials is not there, and it is an adopted ordinance and it's in your packet.
If Christina will forward that to me tomorrow, I'll make sure that it's added to the website.
So the last thing on my list was the Sibley Bridge naming, which I'm kind of looking to you, Jackie. There was a request to the Monuments and Memorials Committee to approve the naming of what,
The new bridge.
the new bridge.
Replacement bridge.
The replacement bridge, which, so in North Newport, there was a green metal bridge, a very old green metal bridge. It has since come down, we have a new bridge, and its location is by the Sibley Scythe Mill. And the Sibleys were a pretty important family in North Newport, so the Historic Society asked that it be named the Sibley Bridge, or the Sibley something, I forgot.
I think it was Sibley family.
Sibley
is How
family.
it was.
And we said yes, but that was quite a while ago, and I'm just bringing it up to figure out where it is in the project, if you know.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think COVID kind of ended a lot of
Ended a
stuff.
lot of things, yeah.
So,
But,
Just so you know, Jim and Mike, Jim knows you know where Arthur Walsh lives?
Yes.
So that was the Sibley house.
so when you go across the bridge, coming up to North Newport, the big French mansard-like house on the right is the house she's speaking of.
I'm going to check it out tomorrow.
Yep, do.
So the Sibley Bridge is there. It
Yes.
just hasn't been officially
Correct,
yeah.
named. So there'll be a little ceremony.
Oh, yes, there'll be something, but my other question is the status of a diorama. There is something there now that talks about the history of the area that
The mills that were
the town must have done when the renovation, when the bridge was renovated. But I don't know if it is complete, if it talks about the Sibley family.
Probably not.
Okay.
So something else that I want to bring up, and shut me up, Biddy, if you're going to be
Yeah.
doing this. Newport is a, let's see, certified, what do we call it? CLG.
Certified local government.
Thank you very much, Hunter. And when we were notified of that, these ladies, Amy Dixon and Nadine Miller from the New Hampshire Division of Historical Resources came up and spoke with us. And they talked about that. Hunter probably knows all about it, because there is grant money that can be had through them
To fund some of this
to
stuff?
fund things. And so I'm just
Great.
pass down their contact information. I called both of them today, was not able to speak with them, but I just wanted to find out if they were both still.
A certified local government by this organization?
We have been since 1980, and we didn't know about it. The last time they came to speak with us was 2 or 3 years ago, when they helped fund the signs that are at the covered bridges.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So this was one of them, and this was the one for the Pier Bridge.
And what does it mean, certified local government? What does it mean?
So, I'm working off faulty memory at the moment, but it's a set of criteria that if you meet that criteria, you become eligible for various grant programs. You have to have a planning board, you have to have an active historic preservation, all these kind of check the boxes, and if you qualify, then you are then eligible for other grant programs. So there's a long list of criteria that you have to meet to become a certified local government.
And it's the Division of Historic Resources that designates you as a certified local
I
government?
believe that's correct.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% certain. But that's
Well, I
not,
can give them a call and see
yeah,
what
it's
they
not
say.
something that I've dealt with in the
Be
past 10
nice if they
years.
could come and speak with us, because there may be grant money or things that we could be taking
Yeah, I mean,
advantage
it's
of.
very similar, for instance, the town participates in the state facilities assessment program.
Right.
And because we have participated in that program, we're therefore eligible for a bunch of other grants. Whereas Jim might recall, if we apply for and get approved by the Governor's Highway Commission for X, then we're eligible to get other things.
Right.
On a, kind of going on the Sibley Bridge, what's the status of the cleanup of that?
Ambargus?
Yes.
The town authorized up to $500,000 to assist with that effort. We have applied, I think, 3 times now, and have come up short on getting funded. I don't know that there's a great amount of impetus to continue to pursue that, but, you know, the town has authorized a $500,000 match if we ever get funded. My concern at this point is it's been at least 3, 4 years, 5 years. The pricing that we had is, you know, it's just, we have no idea.
What made me think of that was, you know, the diorama or something that could be
Right, it's out there.
incorporated with that at that same site of the
Yeah.
bridge, so.
We just don't seem to be scoring high enough to get funded. We miss it every year by 5, 10, 15, thank you.
Well, it was interesting, when I was looking for stuff on the mill, on the Brampton/Ruger mill, I stumbled across a YouTube video with a guy who was talking about visiting old dilapidated mills. And the tagline said Newport, but then he said he was in Newburyport, and then he called the mill something else, but I'm pretty sure he was in the old Ambargus mill, because it's filled with graffiti, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty
so,
run down.
anyway, I have no idea how old it was, but, you know, I just did a quick thing back and said your information's inaccurate, but it's interesting because it's time to really deal with that. To that end, there's a wooden structure at the Reed Andrews Park area that used to have a map.
Mhm.
What's happening with that?
It's kind of an easel type slanted. That has been, I believe, been relocated. It's in storage down at the airport.
Oh, I don't think so.
I
This
bel-
is a permanent structure with
Yeah,
a
you're
little
talking,
roof.
yeah, you're talking about the
that,
wooden
yeah,
structure.
I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah, the other one was a, if I remember correctly, it was a Boy Scout, what do you call it? The high
Eagle
level-
Scout
Eagle Scout
project.
project.
That's the one that's been moved down to the airport.
Exactly.
This one
Yeah.
was a grant-funded program, trails and signage kind of grant, and that is in place, it's been built. It has not been populated, so there's no drawings, maps, information on it, so it is ripe for being taken over and populated with info.
Okay, so we ought to, if somebody chooses to populate, or we should have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
So
in
what
fact,
has happened to the Eagle Scout project? It was a one and done?
Well, it's down at the airport, it's kind of old and pretty,
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's outlived its usefulness.
Needs new scout.
Yeah.
Well,
We
yeah,
would-
I think he's graduated college by now.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
we would love to have some, some activity on that, because it's kind of odd to have that structure, there's nothing on it.
Okay.
I should pester PJ, at least get him to have a trail map on
Well-
it.
It's an interesting idea, but the scouts did it. The scouts might be interested in continuing that legacy of a project.
Do we have a scout troop?
Oh, we have,
We've got some.
I think we do, yeah. I think we have several. We have a lot of, significant number of young men who go all the way to Eagle Scout.
Yeah, I was a Boy Scout.
Well, there you go. Yeah. You were called the Scout though, were you?
Oh, yeah.
Were you?
Yeah, went all the way through, a little Cub Scout, Boy Scout, Venture Scout.
Yeah?
I didn't do Eagle, but I got from up to 16 years old.
Nice.
Yeah, so,
I think his first name was Patrick. I'm trying to remember what his,
yeah.
Who?
the young man that did that.
No, it was Peter Merritt's son,
Peter.
Jacob.
Thank you.
Yes.
So something else that's been kind of brewing in the background, I'm not sure it would have anything to do with you guys, but whatever, just as a heads up. There is some ongoing debate as to where the park, use if you will, but the park, Ray Reed Park, ends and the runway starts.
Mm-hmm.
And so the land's all owned by the town, so that's not an issue. But in terms of usage and people wandering about and going down there for reasons, whether it's weddings or picnics or whatnot, there is a certain kind of thought that it would be good to kind of let people know visually, this is the park, that's part of the runway.
Exactly.
So we were thinking that it might be worthwhile to install some granite bollards, not a great number of them, but, you know, across the field, the end of the field. It's a fairly lengthy piece of dirt there. But if you were to put in half a dozen granite bollards, it would just visually say, this is the park and that's the airport.
I think there was a schematic that the folks who were proposing the park looked at
Yep.
with the airport commission,
Yep, we
and
got
they
it.
had a definitive line that, according to the FAA, was the end of the grass runway.
Yep.
So I think it would make sense to have some kind of demarcation. Now, we're at the Corbin Bridge, coming from Route 10, heading up to North Newport. Just at the bridge, right at the river's edge, is this little park we're talking about.
And so our goal would not necessarily to make it a security kind of thing. or-
No, but
But just
Yeah.
a visual reminder, even if we did a section of split rail, one section of split rail, skipped a section, did another one, so if you were standing anywhere nearby, you kind of have a visual representation and say, yeah, okay, this is where the park is. We don't need to wander, let the kids wander over there. You know, just something to remind people where the line is.
Yeah.
Close to it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, the runway is actually delineated, there are these cones, these white cones that you, probably in the snow now, but
Yeah.
once the snow's gone, you can see them, they're parallel to Corbin Road and run up to where the bridge is.
Yeah.
So
By the
And-
time you get to those cones, it's too late.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
the land, what Hunter's talking about, there's a buffer zone, and then there's those white cones which put you in the runway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
You know,
Believe me, if a plane is landing or taking off,
Yeah.
they are going to either be airborne or land well beyond the end of that. 'Cause
I've
seen
covered
them.
plane crashes into those woods at that end of the runway.
Really?
So
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
Wow.
it's something that needs to be observed, you know, for safety sake. But
Yeah. Well, and
no matter what
just,
we do, it's not gonna be enough.
Yeah.
You put a fence, they'll
No.
climb it.
well, and
Not for
just
planes.
something that's low maintenance, obviously.
Yeah, we were just looking at to keep, you know, people from wandering around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, and whatever, but it's just a visual reminder, that's all, it's not really a security thing. It's-
Would that be something that's covered under the new airport deal, or is that something that would be town, or how is
By the
that?
time we get through the planning and review process and get into line for funding, I mean, you know, this is one of these things that's gonna cost us $500 and we'll go up there and put in, and forget about it. Split rail, 3 or 4 sections of split rail fence will do it. And we'll coordinate that with the guys at, you know, the airport. I just wanted you to know about it.
Great. Anything else to come before this
The
committee?
last thing I noticed on your agenda was recruitment of new members.
Right.
So obviously, with the realignment of some of the other groups, we would gain more bodies.
Yes.
But the best place for new bodies comes from within this board itself. So I firmly believe that we, within our circles of associates, know people that might be willing, interested, or to serve in some capacity in their community. And this would be a great opportunity for for that to happen. On a low level, like you want to dip your toe into, you know,
Right.
serving on a town board, this is a great place to do that.
That's why I did
And
it.
be impactful at the same time. So
Yeah.
that comes from within the board usually first. There may be people that will either see or hear about this outside that, but we as a collective group,
Yep. And
know
we
these
need,
people.
you know, I'll speak with Kate because she's the only other person at the moment from the historic district. The rest of us are all sort of recycled through.
and there are some residents that I'm aware of that recently bought property within the district that I think might be interested in joining also. So again, we should have plenty of members because, you know, people are gonna cycle in and out this board over time. It just needs to have, if we have slotted for 7, we should try to have 7.
Yep, for sure. Anything else?
trying to get my husband to sign up.
I know. What did Christina?
I apologize. I
That's
was
all right.
just going to state that if you don't want to, but we've never approved the minutes from December 2020, and you could
Oh.
hold that off. But before you adjourn, there was, at least on my agenda, but I know that neither of
Are
you.
they, and they were in your
I
packet?
attached them, the minutes underneath the agenda, but maybe you could, if you want to all
We'll,
review
we'll,
them.
we'll table them until
Okay.
until April,
So-
just because
Yes.
people need a chance to read them.
So actually,
You have some
The-
changes?
well, no, the
Oh.
minutes of April 8th, 2019 had not been approved.
Okay.
Because,
And technically, minutes don't need to be approved, under the New Hampshire statutes. They just
Okay.
have to be presented, but we can certainly approve them at the next meeting.
Especially if you see, and I can put the April, I thought we approved the April meetings in the December 2020 meeting. Is that April 2020?
no, because December 19th, 2019, the only members of the group present was myself and Bill Wilmot.
No,
So
2020.
it was
I'm talking.
informational only.
Oh, okay, so December 2020 aren't approved. Your April 2019,
Correct.
do you want me
This
to
is
pull those?
due to the lack of a...
Sure, we might as well formalize it, and
Yeah.
then we can determine if we're going to do
I'll
that.
Yeah.
email those to you. I've got a big email to go out tomorrow anyway, so I'll get the most information I can.
Okay, Hunter.
One last comment, I don't want to extend your meeting any longer than necessary.
It's all right.
The longer I sit and think, the more things that pop into my head. So we already talked about the reconstruction of the rear entrances of the Opera House is going to commence on Monday, a week from today. Take about 3 months. As part of, or as secondary to that project, we also have an L-chip grant to replace the doors, or replace and/or reconstruct the doors on the rear of the building, the entrance to the dressing room, and the entrance to the rear of the stage at the top of the new stairs. So those 2 doors will be reconstructed or replaced in kind to mimic what we're going to see if we can fix what's there, and maybe just repair those, but there'll be, something is going to happen to them. And then the bulkhead on the south side of the building, to the west of the entrance to the Superior Court, is going to be replaced. That's not historic, but it's
No.
not a historic building, so.
It does, it goes to the old jail cell.
Well, it goes down to the basement, which is lovely clean.
The jail
So-
cell.
Yeah.
Right, straight it down,
Yeah,
right there.
that's right.
There's 2 cells.
So anyway, so I just wanted you to know that those, and I can't think of any other activities at the moment.
So, just,
While you're thinking.
well, jog my memory. This CLG, did we want to consider having Amy and Nadine come and speak with us on that?
We could, maybe in, at the next regular meeting,
Yeah, I got that.
It was,
Speaking of us, what, regarding the
to
naming
tell
of the
us
bridge?
what, no, to tell us what they can offer us.
Oh, that'd be great.
And we could Zoom them if they can't come. We
Yeah.
could set up a Zoom.
I like that.
Yeah,
that would
that would
be
be May.
May 2022, 22nd, May 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get a copy of that, but that's all right. Are you gonna contact them to see if they'll speak?
I can.
I'll
if you'd like
potentially
to.
put it on the agenda for the May,
Fine.
and then if you need me to do anything further, I could, whatever, correspond with them too, but
So, May 22nd, I believe, is a Monday?
it's the 4th, it should be the 4th Monday.
Monday in May.
My birthday.
That would be
Oh.
nice.
I'll be up
Well-
in Stowe, Vermont that week.
Well,
So
then,
let's not
not
hold
do
it-
it, because you'd like to hear them. We can do it for July, or we can do it in September.
September. Why don't we hold it, so, right, because that's,
Hold it till the fall.
Yeah,
We don't need their information
Yeah,
right away.
and maybe it's a better time to do grant money.
That's fine.
So, but I'll just put it down. What's the name of the grant or the organization?
It's the New Hampshire Division of Historical Resources.
Oh, okay.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Christina, you're gonna be sending out meeting notifications via Google Calendar?
I don't typically do an invite that way. Typically, what I do is I can update, I'll usually send you an agenda for the year. Then usually the week before the meeting, I send out the agenda with, via email, with the attachments of all, that anything is perspective. Like, there's a number of things that are gonna be on the April meeting. But I could put it on, because I do have to put it on my BOS calendar. and on the BOS calendar, not mine, but on my computer, and then I could do an invite for all of you to attend. You'd get
I
another
love it
email.
when my phone tells me where I have to be.
I will do that then. It's,
I got
that's
enough
easier.
Easier for me.
When I'm setting, I have to set it up so I secure the room. So when, I can either just set it up and secure the room, or I'll do it as an invite.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'll have that. I hope I get everything if I miss, because I've got like 25 things. So I'm
Don't
gonna
worry.
make a checklist tomorrow.
We'll help you.
Okay, thank you. But I will add you to and then you can accept or decline, and then I would know if we have
Exactly.
Exactly, a quorum.
quorum and if we have more members.
Shows
Okay,
up on the-
okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah,
All right, one more time, anything else for the good of the order?
motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very
Mr.
much.
It's time to
Thanks
get
for John.
reorganized.